All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video as we inform you about some late breaking news here on a Wednesday as it pertains to Thursday night football, Niners and Rams. We'll talk about it in just a second. But first, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. And this entire 49er football season on the Krug Show is presented by Sleeper, the fastest growing fantasy platform in the world. It's a one-stop shop. You get blazing fast news, real-time stats, group chat, season-long leagues, and of course, Sleeper picks for daily fantasy. Use promo code Larry. Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Links in the description, terms and conditions to apply. Thanks to Sleeper for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. All right, the announcement came down just moments ago. The 49ers have announced that Brock Purdy, Ricky Pearsall, and Jauan Jennings, all three of those guys are out on Thursday night at SoFi Stadium. None of those guys are going to go against the Rams. Now, Purdy's got the toe injury. Pearsall's got a knee bruise or a PCL strain or maybe both. Jauan Jennings has got rib issues, ankle issues, shoulder issues. He's really banged up. So all three of those guys are out for the Thursday nighter. So what does that mean? What does that mean? That means that the 49ers, first of all, the Purdy decision is a good decision. Sit this guy down. Oh, my God. You're the coach. You're the GM. He's a player on the team. Tell him that he's not playing. I mean, you have a really, really competitive player. That's awesome. It's great to have really competitive players. But really competitive players are always going to put themselves on the field. And so is Brock Purdy. So sit him down. Sit him down. He never should have played against Jacksonville. He was high all week with his throws. He was throwing around the toe pain. It was obvious to me, and I don't know squat. All right? So if I don't know anything and I'm seeing that, then those guys who know a lot should have known. But they didn't want to do that. They wanted to make it Brock's call. They wanted to see if he could do it. Well, guess what? He did it. They lost. The same thing that he showed in practice, he showed in the games. He left a number of balls high. And then it's just the level of precision that you need to have to succeed, is greater than he had. So he left some balls high and he didn't play particularly well. And the 49ers lost and his toe got worse. And he told us on Tuesday that, hey, if the game were today, I couldn't play. So, and then he said, well, it's kind of a quick turnaround, as if to say, well, if I had a few more extra days until Sunday, I could go. What's the goal here? Is the goal to see if Brock can play with pain, or is the goal to try to win a Super Bowl? Because if the goal is to try to win the Super Bowl, shut this guy down. Shut this guy down for a month. Give him 3, 4, 5 weeks to let the thing quiet down. Don't have him practice. Get him off his feet. Don't, challenge him at every turn. We know what the guy wants to do. He wants to play, and he's going to want to play the next game. And if Mac Jones wins this game, he's going to want to play that much more. They have to protect Brock from himself. I said all offseason, it was great. It was one of the best signings of all was the Niners signing Mac Jones. And I was right. But my argument at the time was that Mac Jones will guarantee that you get Brock Purdy's A game because Brock Purdy's so competitive. And now it's actually kind of working negatively because now Brock, you're right. I was right. Mac Jones was a great addition, and he is a challenge to Brock, and he does give the Niners another quarterback who they can win with. But in this scenario, Brock, if he had a backup that couldn't do it, maybe he wouldn't fear, losing his gig, and he would just get the proper rest and come back when he's ready. But now he's got a guy who can win games, who theoretically should be able to take his job. He was a first-round draft choice. Kyle Shanahan really liked Mac Jones, if you believe the people who said as much leading into the 2021 draft. And now he's here, and he looks good, and he looks really good. So, and I get it. Brock doesn't want to lose his job to Mac Jones, but, the Niners have already signed Brock Purdy to the contract. Now do what's right for Brock Purdy. Sit him down. It was supposed to be 2 to 6 weeks. He took 2 weeks, came back, rushed it back, played poorly, exacerbated the injury, and now it's probably more like probably a 4 to 6 week injury because now he's got to get that thing quieted down that much more. The bottom line is whenever he plays, it's not going to be better until the offseason when he has to have probably some surgery on it and get the thing to really quiet down. So he's going to have to play with this. He's going to have to manage the pain all year. And you saw what it looked like last week against Jacksonville. His margin for error is not great. He's got to be on point. The biggest, thing that he lost here was he lost his elite's escapability. So you're going to put him Thursday night on a fast carpet against maybe the best defensive line in the game and expect that was going to help him. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer to sit him out of this Rams game, but sit him down for a month. Sit him down, not as a penalty, as a way to try to get him right so he can have a playoff run, so he can have a season, so the 49ers can potentially get him back in the tail stretch of the year, and maybe he can stomach the pain between that point and the end of the year. But to ask him to go all of October, all of November, all of December, and then be ready for the playoffs, and then somehow get through those playoffs, and then be ready to beat the AFC champion on the road, in the Super Bowl. Actually, he'll be at home. But the AFC champion in the Super Bowl, it's just asking a lot. It's just asking a lot. I mean, you could make an argument that this toe thing is going to ruin his whole year, no matter what the Niners do, whether they sit him or play him. It's going to ruin his whole year. But do you want his whole year to end in, before Halloween? Because if he plays every single week going forward, I think his season's over by Halloween. I don't think he gets out of October. I think the pain will be too much. It will get worse and worse and worse. And then, his play will probably go down. His escapability will go down. He'll lose his mobility, and that will be it. So I would preserve him. Maybe you got a month of a ball in this guy. Maybe he can play for a month. But what month do you want him? I'll take December. So guess what that means? October, I'm giving to Mac Jones. And if I got to give him October and the first couple of weeks in November, that's fine with me. I'll do it. I want Brock Purdy to be there for the stretch drive. If you're winning games with your backup, why in the hell would you consider putting him out there? And that's what the Niners were doing. They were winning games with their backup quarterback and then decided to put their starting quarterback with turf toe back on the field. I mean, the wisdom of that can be questioned forever. And I know they'll say, well, Mac Jones was hurt. Well, it's amazing how 1 week of rest made Mac Jones all better. I think that was a convenient thing that you say so that the media doesn't challenge you. Well, Mac's more hurt than Brock. Really? Because I was at practice and Mac looked just like Mac looked all summer and Brock looked different than he looked all summer. So you're telling me that Mac is more hurt than Brock? And then now, so what? Then they play one game and now Brock's more hurt than Mac? I think this is all about convenience and, let's say what we need to say to get what we want to get. Let's say what we need to say to justify whatever decision we want to make. I'm dubious about all these timetables. I'll listen to what my eyes tell me and not listen to the messages coming out of Niner PR. So Purdy's not going to play, and that's a good move. Going back to Mac Jones is a good move. Now, there are people that say, hey, look, if Mac Jones beats the Rams and is impressive, it's going to open a whole new can of worms as far as quarterback talk and who's the guy and who should be the guy and who's better and all that. If you're the 49ers, you can't fear that. You can't fear that. What are your choices? Your choices are have one backup quarterback and a bunch of backups that can't do the job. You did that last year. How did that work for you? Or you can have a good backup who potentially can step in there. But guess what? If that guy plays well, then there's going to be questions about should he be playing. It's inevitable. So you just can't, you can't live your life that way. You can't rule your life by those rules. If it happens, it happens. If all of a sudden Mac plays great and there's this big back and forth between the media and fans, who's better, Brock or Mac, then that's it. Then you're going to have to live with that. That's just occupational hazard of having 2 starting quarterbacks on your 53-man roster. So Purdy is out, and it's a good thing. Now, Ricky Pearsall is out with a knee injury, and it's not a good thing. Why do I say it's not a good thing? Because they need him. Ricky Pearsall has been their most explosive receiver this year. I mean, he has really been good. If there's one thing about this season that's been really encouraging so far, it's the play of Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall really has looked good. And the Niners need him. He's far and away their number one receiver. So what do they do without him? That's the question. Who's going to start at wide receiver if, Ricky Pearsall can't go? That's the question, and Pearsall's situation is that, he's got a minor PCL strain. They're saying it's a grade 1 and a deep bone contusion as well. So the Niner receivers in this game are likely to be Kendrick Bourne, Demarcus Robinson, Sky Moore, Russell Gage, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. So that, if you're not impressed by that, you're not alone. That's not a great group. Bourne looks done. Sky Moore is just a return guy. Gage is a decent player in the short range. In the red zone, he might be able to help you. Demarcus Robinson has to get the ball more than 2 targets this week. He had 2 targets last week, half as many as Kendrick Bourne. Demarcus Robinson needs 4 times as many targets as Kendrick Bourne. And MVS, I don't even know what to expect at MVS. He's just at this point a journeyman veteran who's floated around. I don't have any real good vibes that he's going to come through. So those are your 5 wide receivers: Bourne, Demarcus Robinson, Sky Moore, Russell Gage, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. None of these guys were on the team last year. None. At the beginning of training camp, only Demarcus Robinson was the only guy there at the beginning of training camp, I believe. Maybe Gage. He might have been there. But MVS wasn't, Sky Moore wasn't, and Kendrick Bourne wasn't. So this is a total makeshift wide receiver core. And we'll see. That's really all I can say about the 49ers and their wide receiver core. The Rams defense is the 9th rated pass defense in the game. They lead the NFL in sacks. It's going to be a huge test for the offensive line, and it's going to be a huge test for the receivers to see if they can free themselves open down the field. And then, of course, no Jauan Jennings. And Jennings is really beat up as well. He's got 3 different injuries that he's trying to come back from, and he has been, he's the man. Jauan Jennings is awesome. When he's healthy and out there, he's awesome. But he's not going to be out there this week. So somebody's going to have to step up. I would imagine this is going to be either a big, big night for Demarcus Robinson on Thursday night, or it's going to be a loss. Either Demarcus Robinson is going to have 7 or 8 catches and 2 touchdowns and some big, revenge game against his former club, or the 49ers are probably going to lose this game because he's really their only weapon in the pass game that scares anybody. So that's where the 49ers are at. Things will get better. George Kittle is expected back around week 6. Malik Mustafa is expected back around week 7. I would imagine somewhere around week 8 or 9, John Lynch will trade for another additional edge rusher to give them a little bit more pass rush. I would say by week 10, 9, 10, 11, somewhere in there, Brandon Ayuk could be back in the mix. Also, by that point, you could have the rookies, a little bit more adjusted. So the Niners do have some good things on the horizon coming around the corner if they can withstand this part of the schedule. And they're going to have to do it Thursday night with no JJ, no Pearsall, and no Brock Purdy. Ouch. All right. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to our good friends at Sharp Corners, Sports Cards, and Collectibles. And thanks to Sleeper for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube,